Live. 5, 4, 3, 2. Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Gibson with Norm Therapy Abuse Care. Abuse care is a genre. It's the field of understanding and study. It's what the umbrella for the entire industry is concerned. It's called abuse care, under which and undergirding that is norm therapy. It's one of the tools and techniques that's used in order to assist people when they've been abused, they've abused themselves, or they've fallen in some circumstance that is not a mental health oriented circumstance. It's more of a what crap or doldrum will I accept in my life that someone else is inflicting upon me. So in the understanding of the abuse care industry, we look for the opportunity to just be better the more we know about what we do and how to combat narcissism, how to combat gaslighting and other kinds of impacts that have on people who are victims of abuse and survivors of abuse. So that's what we do. Now, oftentimes, people can't communicate because they're so busy talking, they don't listen to each other. And when one is actually listening or speaking, the other one isn't. Either that, there's an incongruency there. So what we have to do is teach people how to have dialogue, not because they don't know how to speak or articulate, because they don't know how to respect one another when speaking. Bobbi and Montes, we have seen them on air go through some tremendous conversation. We've never seen them together, so tonight is a special treat. We have both Bobbi and we have Montes together. And what we'll be doing tonight is watching their dynamic, talking with them, asking them some very serious questions, watching how courteous they are with one another, how diplomatic or impactful their statements are, or their mannerisms and behavior. We're going to look at all of these things because remember, at the end of the day, the only person you get to look at is yourself. And if you're projecting a terrible image of yourself, you should be able to see it. And we're not always equipped to see it, so we depend on our mates and the people who are closest to us to let us know. But we have to respect their opinion about it. And of course, do something about it once we know what's hurting or helping them. Okay, so without any further ado, I'm going to ask Bobbi to come in first. Hey, Bobbi, how are you?
I'm good.
Are you
I'm
ready for
well.
tonight?
I am.
Good, good, good. I'm happy to have you here. I tell you, I think about you often. You've had a tough road as a woman. And not being a male chauvinistic pig, but this world was just not designed for women. It just wasn't. It was designed for men, where women have gone ahead and occupied their own spaces. And from suffrage in 1920s and teens, all the way up until today, women have been fighting and clawing for just about every piece of real estate they have, to include 54% of all real estate in the United States, because 54% of people are married and most of those homes and assets are going to women. So it's a very powerful lobbying group, if you will, for life, women. So if you're going to lobby for anything, especially a woman in a good relationship, you should be lobbying for good men to show up out there, which you seem to have. No matter how dysfunctional or functional you are at any given time with your man, you guys seem to have a rhythm that most people couldn't even comprehend. So I have to applaud you for that. Okay, now, giving you that accolade, is there anything you want to say before we start? Because this is your Sunday night normally, and you invited Montes is. Tell me.
Yeah. I mean, all I want to say is, life shows up. And when it does, you deal with it just the way that you know how. And that doesn't mean that you're going to deal with it perfect every time. But at the end of the night, when you lay down with your spouse, don't ever go to bed angry. Make sure that you have that conversation because that's ruined a lot of nights. We've had a lot of sleepless nights. Change isn't easy. And when we've practiced some of the things that we've learned through norm therapy, it hasn't been the easiest thing to do, you know. And so I try to live my life the best that I can, in harmony with my husband, whatever that looks like for that day. And it changes from day to day because you never know what's going to happen. Like,
Relationships are fluid. They're fluid. Relationships are all fluid. But there's a certain flow to that fluidity that we want to achieve in our relationships and maintain throughout. But you're right. It's very fluid and it changes. Sometimes the current's going this way. Sometimes you get an undertow. Next thing you know, there's a hurricane. That happens. So I
yeah.
do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do something, and I'm going to call Montes in and have him, of course, share a few things with us. Montes, would you please come in? There you go. Montes, how are you?
Hello, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I was sharing with Montes for the audience prior to my coming on air tonight. I was sharing with him. I was talking to one of my good friends. He said, sometimes I think I have a bad day. He said, but when I hear Montes Day, it makes me feel like I'm okay. Because this brother is one brother that can actually go through something and get to the other side. And the thing I like about that statement was, and I'm trying to use my hands because everything's backwards because of the framing of this picture. But the bottom line is Montes doesn't exist right here. He's not here. He's not right here. Something doesn't happen and he goes boom, 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 boom. No, Montes exists here and over here. And when something happens, he can go from here to here, that entire spectrum. The deeper the situation, the higher you will come out on the other side. The more you have to deal with, the more you're able to handle. Bobbi is really good at that too, but very good. When she lost a potentially great situation for her livelihood and her future career, within, I'd say 48 hours, she was already oriented towards something else, doing something just as powerful. But in the meantime, this is my observation, I hope it's yours as well, she did something I really like. The very things that she was asking Montes for during her time when she was out in front and he was waiting on his opportunity, the very things, a home-cooked meal, a clean home, support, accolades, a pat on the back, appreciation, the very things she was looking for him to do for her, she did for him without him having to ask her to do it. That, and I rarely get involved with the emotional aspect of what we do, but that touched me and I liked that. I thought that was very powerful. And it is, because it reinforces not only the flow of the relationship, but it also gives rise and example to what each other should do as a standard of how to treat one another, whether you're up or down. And I thought that was very admirable. So I'm going to start off this session after 8 minutes of all of that. Is there anything you guys want to say before we get started?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to roll on out.
There you go. Bobbi, what do you think? Anything to
roll
say?
out the red carpet.
Okay,
We're
so I'm
ready
gonna
for
ask you a serious
questions.
red carpet. Okay, let's make sure red is for like just the red, not anything else. Okay. But
Yeah.
okay, the thing is, listening to one another is probably the most difficult thing to do. Not just with you, but with everyone. Familiarity breeds both content, or contempt. The more familiar you are with someone, the more you're willing to overstep a boundary that no one else would. The more you are not cognizant of how you're hurting another person because you're so familiar. You just say anything without limit. People do that. Also, familiarity grants a sense of comfort where you can say anything. Oh, baby, I love you so much. I just want to kiss your elbow. Whatever. Whatever that may be, that familiarity grants you that. And what we oftentimes forget is with familiarity comes great respect or great disrespect. Would you both find in your relationship prior to norm therapy that your familiarity gave both of you license to hurt one another? I'll ask you that question,
100%.
Bobbi. Go ahead.
100%. It was almost like we knew what buttons to push if we were in a bad frame of mind or having a bad day and the other person wasn't. We would find ways to hurt one another. I wouldn't even say it was intentionally. It was like an unintentional, intentional thing that we done because we were so familiar, because we knew what buttons we know what makes each other mad. We know what makes us go, mentally, physically, emotionally. And so I think just learning some of the things that we've learned hasn't made us perfect, but it's made us a lot better. And it's made us a lot stronger. And it's made us a lot more cohesive.
I like that word. What about kinder? Are you kinder to one another now?
Yeah. We still have our days now. Don't get it twisted. We still have our days, but they're very few and far between. They're very few and far between.
Frequency is much less now than it used to be.
Yeah.
You both notice that difference, correct, Montes?
That's correct.
So would you agree with your wife that the frequency of negativity has greatly subsided only because you're now noticing one another and you're understanding what familiarity can do to hurt each other?
Yes, I would agree with it, but I'd like to maybe expound a little bit on it if I can.
Knock yourself out. The whole reason we're here, knock yourself out.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this or not, but I met Bobbi while I was in prison and she was in prison in two different states, 9 hours away. We were pen pals. And I met her hustling. I met her trying to see what I could get out of somebody because I'm in jail and I ain't got nothing. And Bobbi was smart. Now, yeah, we were sitting in prison, but I always tell people the smartest people are sitting in prison. If you want to figure something out, you go to prison and find them. And I never thought that. First of all, and it's big for me, and I hope people don't look at me like, I'm separating races and all of this, but it's a big thing for me. It's very big. I never been with a white woman in the way that I intended to be with her from the moment I got out of prison. I didn't get out of prison after doing almost a whole decade. And just forget about the people who kept it real with me or the people who touched me in a certain way. Bobbi's her not only was her penmanship very legible and very understandable, but it was very heartfelt, every letter. Okay, it was something that I had to think about. I passed days on the last portion of my sentence, maybe 4 months. I passed days, I passed time reading those letters, smelling those letters, understanding who this woman was. It wasn't it's all sexual like everybody else, or no, we rocked and rolled and we vibed on that paper, and it enabled me to get out and continue to think about her. Even while I was in a whole nother relationship with another woman, I never forgot about who Bobbi was, and I made sure people knew that this is, if we ain't gonna be together, this is gonna be my boom coon. We ain't gonna stop, and I ain't gonna change. And when I ended up breaking up in that relationship, I went back to Indiana from Wisconsin, and Bobbi was 3 hours away from me, and she knew it, and she was there for me. She helped me get up. Okay, so this relationship, yeah, it can be very tumultuous. Tumultuous. It's very hard. It's things that I go through in this relationship that I ain't never ever had to experience because I've been in the streets and I've been in the penitentiary. And so that was my mind frame. I don't have biological children. And by the time I made it to her, we were so familiar with each other. It was like we wasn't just meeting each other for the first time. You know what I'm saying? I knew that woman, and that woman knew me from sleeping in a cell phone shop all the way to running an apartment complex in 6 months. You see what I'm saying?
You
So
know,
yeah, for me, it made me it was things that I said that I didn't mean, but I felt like because I was familiar that I could. What you gonna do?
I like that context. Most men can't do what you just did. admit the error of their ways, but also the standard of who they are in that relationship and a wantingness
Yes.
to better it, to ameliorate, to make better you and your situation. That most men can't do. Most women can't do it. I've never seen anyone be able to take themselves, well, I can't say never, but on very seldom occasion, where people take themselves from that low to that place with a person, recognizing themselves, trying to do something about it, fixing it, and moving on. That's a rarity these days. It's not the normal. It's the exception to the rule and not the rule. And we need to move back our society. That's probably why a lot of relationships are screwing up in divorce today. Heck, I'm divorced. A lot of relationships screw up because we're incapable of communicating with one another. And I think that was a very commendable thing. So that one thing is that you both now recognize about familiarity breeds content and contempt. We know what that adage is all about insofar as your relationship is concerned and in that specific context. Now tell me something. As your biggest lesson in life of the past, let's say, few months we've been doing this together, guys, because your relationship is seemingly much better than what we initially started with. And there's some work to do, but it's much better. Do you believe that these are permanent changes, Montes?
Do I believe that they're permanent changes?
Yes, that you guys are making. Are they permanent changes?
I believe, I mean, because we are human, we're going to slip and fall. I believe they can be, with repetition, with time, with determination and the willingness to want that. I believe they can be, because I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Like she said, man, you know, we'll get to the business real quick if it, you know, it behooves us. You see what I'm saying? But at the same token, it's nothing like it was maybe even a month ago.
Well,
Okay, and it's
that's
I'm
giving you
and I'm
something to look forward to.
Yeah, and I'm fine. I'm not. There's things that make like I just had a real hard time with this job and stuff, and I that same day I had to wrestle. Man, you don't know what type of stuff I wanted to do. I had all type of money plans in my brain and stuff, and um,
So you
she
tell me
said,
they
man,
weren't all good. It was
no,
just
they weren't good. I
necessary.
know, nope, they weren't good. They weren't good because see, when I'm trying, you steady kicking me, and so I'm thinking like, man, forget it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. I'm gonna get it with my know-how. And my know-how got me 3 DOC numbers too.
Well,
You
that's
know what
good.
I'm saying?
That's
And
good.
but I didn't do that. And she was there to make sure that my brain was where it needed to be, because I was, I'm doing 60 in the turning lane. I'm not trying to hear nothing.
Those DOC numbers, it's good that you recognize that's what you got out of it. That's not good, of course, but
Yeah,
it's good that you see how that fits and works against you, correct?
yeah.
Good. I need to go to Bobby for a second. Do you think these changes are permanent, Bobby?
I do. Um, even if it turns out the wrong way, it starts off the right way. And so that leads me to believe that there's some permanency there. Um, you know, I think we have such strong personalities and we want to get our points across so intensely, and we're so passionate about a lot of the same things, but yet totally opposite, that it becomes a battle of the minds when it doesn't have to be, because two heads are better than one. And, I always either try to enhance my husband or, like I said, I haven't always been affectionate. And so I'm working on that. Like, I had talked in one of my sessions about this is my face.
What you get?
This is not what my heart says. It's not what my insides feel, but this is what this says. And, so I still get a lot of, I'm cold hearted, but sometimes I just really don't know what to say. And sometimes rather than say the wrong thing, I just sit quiet. And then a lot of times he'll talk through what he needs to, and he'll hear himself talking and he'll figure it out himself. Like, I believe in him wholeheartedly. And when they laid him off of that job, you know, like I told him, don't be down about that. You know, we've been kicked out of finer diners. He's got so much potential to do whatever it is that he wants to do. You know, and he one of the things that we always get into it about is he sells himself short. You know, he sells himself short a lot of times. And that's just like, you know, with like little hustling jobs where he's cleaning cars or detailing, or, you know, he does it for, it costs him more money to put into his cleaning supplies than it does for him to charge somebody for the car that he does. And I'm like, you know, I worked for a dealership. Mannheim's getting $150. You're charging people $60 and we're putting 55 of it in cleaning supplies. You're selling yourself short and you're spending 4 and 5 hours doing it. So that's just one of the examples of like where I get so mad about him, you know, because I know that he's worth more. I know that his time's worth more, his work's worth more, you know. But back to the permanency, we always start off as, I think of it as a talk and listen paddle in my visual.
Mhm.
If my side's on listen, his is on talk. If his is on listen, mine should be on talk. So that's how I, in my mind, think about it.
I like that. That's a good rule to have. I think when the person is speaking, if they don't feel heard, they feel like their words are less valuable. Just like when they're detailing cars or painting a wall or building a computer program, if they don't feel that their work is appreciated in any way, then they don't feel that their value is there, unless they know through experience that they are worth that $150 an hour. And they're going to make sure that they give that, because you know you can spend 10 hours on a car or 5 hours on a car, and if it's done really well, that's great. And if you charge 150, you got your money's worth. But if you spend 45 minutes on the same car, but it's just as clean and it's beautiful and it's spick and span, you're not necessarily selling your time, you're selling your skill, you're selling your expertise. And that expertise is valuable. But we are not always good. If we've read Dunning-Kruger, it basically says that when we self-evaluate, we normally come up short in thinking of ourselves. And we don't really want to do that. Or if we self-evaluate and we think we're great at something, we're not always great at it. We're much worse normally. So it's up to people like you, his mate, his partner, to say to him, baby, you are selling yourself short. The problem is he's not accustomed of hearing that. He's accustomed of dealing with people who try to treat him short. He has a combat against that. So are you, so am I, so is everyone else. But the reality is he needs your support. He needs your tongue to speak the truth. So when he's doing whatever he's doing, he's not continually abusing your relationship, himself, or his opportunities by charging them less. That's a great analogy. Thank you for that one. But I'm sure whatever he puts his mind to, he does a great job. I like that. So supporting one another in your efforts to get better is always a good thing. What about you, Montes? What do you see? Do you see that? Because Bobbi has a whole different kind of perspective on life that I actually appreciate in a lot of ways. But tell me, do you see Bobbi in a place where she's selling herself short on anything?
No, I don't. I don't feel like she's selling herself short in no any aspect of her life, especially when it comes to finances or employment or any of that thing stuff. I watched Bobbi. I watched Bobbi come from prison, and everywhere she goes, she ran everything. She never was below. She was always the boss. And I'm basing my opinion off of that. Okay, she's not settling for less. If you tell her the policy says, she's going to find a policy that overrides that policy. Okay. This is what Bobby does,
I
and
love it.
everyone knows this. So no, she's not selling her. The only place I think that she might be selling herself short is the fact that we've been together. I've known Bobby for 8 years now. We've been together physically for 4. All right. But she's done a great job. She has done a great job. And I'm not just talking about in our relationship, but I'm talking about with her kids. Okay. A lot of people might say a lot of bad dang on things, but I'm gonna tell you, I've been around for 4 years. I've watched this woman bend over backwards in an attempt to make amends. And because she cared, because people might have thought she didn't love or she didn't this or she that, but she did. And so it almost becomes a weakness because
It's
she
kryptonite. It's our own
that,
kryptonite being that good.
and that's the only bad thing, and I wouldn't even call it bad. You
Well,
know what
what
I'm
would you
saying?
call it? What would you call it?
I would
Useful?
know because sometimes it's not. Sometimes the only way it can be useful is to warm our heart.
Of course, but also the effectiveness of what she's doing is what I'm looking at.
Oh, and okay, effectiveness, yes. Yeah. I mean, they said Bo knows. No, Bobby knows.
Okay, I'm gonna go to another question then. Now we know we have support, joint support, and we probably already had or always had support for one another. I think you've
Yeah.
demonstrated that. What areas in your life, Bobby, you do not support Montes? You will not.
That I won't support him.
Yeah. What is your thin line?
That any kind of really street behaviors or things that have gotten him into prison. Um, I don't support that. I don't support there's a fine line, like even with maybe some of the places that we go,
Mhm.
um, opposites definitely attract because we kind of live separate lifestyles, the way that we live.
Mhm.
And so, just the other night, me and him went out and shot a couple games of pool. That's okay. But multiple days or multiple people going, like, I'm not into that. I've been there and done that. There's nothing that I haven't been there and done. And so, I have to be very careful with what I'm doing and where I'm going because of the state of my recovery. So
Who
there
do
may be some places that he can go or he, wants to go that I can't, just based on I don't want to put myself at risk,
I
you
understand.
know. I
And the
don't I
people
don't
you're around, and who knows who has what with them, or what kind of
right.
background you have. Yeah, of course, I think that would be terrifying to have to find yourself to frequent that kind of environment all the time. Don't you think, Montes?
I absolutely think so. But I'm beneath this is how my mind is working. Okay. Montez and Bobby going out, having a good time, which I think we earn every dang on week. And I'm the life of the dang on party. I like people. I've been locked up behind too many jail cells to be wanting to be in the house all the time.
I can dig it.
Okay.
I
And
agree with
for
you.
real. And I have not got all them experiences because I spent half my life there. And so now I'm hungry. And I feel like if I do everything that I wanted, if I do everything I'm supposed to at 40 years old, man, I should be, I don't, you've never not seen me in this house before 8 o'clock ever. I'm ever, I promise you, I'm not outside in the street because I got a family. But um, I just, I don't know, man. I still want to, I ain't even gonna be
Nothing's
living
wrong
too
with
much
that.
that long, huh?
You made it very clear. Nothing's
Yeah,
wrong. I think you should be able to, let yourself go a little bit and exude a little bit of freedom out on your freedom scape. You should be able to just share your freedom, have fun, be the life of the party. I think what Bobbi is referring to, so we don't, because sometimes we don't see each other on the same thing because you actually live together. So you know Bobbi's butt and she knows yours. But what I think she's saying is to frequent the place that's special, let's say to you and her to shoot pool together. And then the next night is 6 other people. Then the next night or another time, there's like some people you're probably unfamiliar with, but they're also, they may know you or they may know her. She doesn't want to put herself in those circumstances where you or she can be compromised. I'm thinking is what she's saying. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. But the fact of going out, sharing and having fun and absorbing life and spitting some back out to the universe, that's all good. That's always good. That's always healthy. There's nothing wrong with sharing like that. But we have to be careful though, especially both of you, because of the probations, not, the both of you have it, but what I'm saying, the probations and the potentiality of the people we knew in the past dragging us back to our past. That's always a possibility. I may not have a criminal or nefarious past, but I have a very dangerous past, very dangerous. Being in the line of life I lived, I've dealt with some pretty strong people in the world. And so, and I just choose some of the guys I'll deal with and some I won't, because some are still out there going to Ukraine or going to Russia or going to Iraq, and they long retired, long time ago, and they're still doing these things. And I know if I hang out with them, I'll say, okay, well, when's the next mission? I'm doing something else. I know me. So I just kind of do what I do now, and that keeps me on this straight and narrow. Not that that life isn't glorious. It is glorious. But it's, I have 3 daughters. I have 2 daughters and a son now. It's dangerous. And I kind of want to be around my kids, when they get to be of age. So we all have our reasons for going to our past or not going to our past. And I just want everybody to appreciate that. Secondly, Bobbi, I've always wanted to ask you this, because this guy cracks me up all the time. Sometimes he just says things, you got to sit there and just laugh. But to you, what is the funniest thing he does? Tell me. Well, it don't have to be too personal, but something funny that he does. What's so funny about him that keeps you in stitches?
He is a funny person. That's his humor and stuff is a lot of the reason that attracted me to him, because we met through writing and penmanship. And like you said, you tell your whole soul to somebody that you get that off your chest. You never think you're going to meet him again. And then you do, but just one of the funniest things he does, and he does it when he's mad, and he'll go back and forth. When I say pity pat, he'll go one room. And I don't know if it helps him to like just reorganize, but inside it's making me smile because he's figuring out what he wants to do or say, but the whole time he never stops moving. It's like he's just going, pity pat, and that's what I said.
I can see it in my brain's eye. I can see it.
Yeah. I was teasing him the other night. I said, it's like the song that never ends. I said, once you get upset, it's just on and on and on and on until it stops. But you have to go through the motions, and it makes me smile. And not smile in a way that should upset him, because I don't smile. I look the same, but just to see him figuring it out on his own, he doesn't ask for a lot of help, and he'll go from one room to the next room, to the next room, to the kitchen, to the dining room, back, forth. And it's just, that's him figuring it out, because he's very quick and he moves fast, and he walks fast, and everything he does is just fast, sometimes too fast. And when he gets to going too fast, that's when he'll trip up a little bit. And but he won't. You tell him, just, hey, why don't you slow down, take it easy, it's okay, we got this, we'll just shift gears a little bit and try to do this a little bit. He doesn't want to slow down. So,
Some people
that's
are
like,
switches on high. Some people switch on high. You switch them on. Some people go out slow and get there. Some people just at a steady pace. But some people just start from 0 to 60. That's not
yeah,
always healthy as you get older, by the way, just to let you know more. Because sometimes you need a minute to kind of like get the blood pumping, get the juices going, get the brain housing group all working in concert. And then you start to speak or move or whatever. But we'll talk more about that as time ensues. But I agree with you. I can see it in my head. Like, I can see that. Uh, you know, um, that is funny. It's funny. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with that. So what is it about Bobby that makes you laugh, Morgan? Please tell us.
Bobby forgets everything. And I'm not talking about important events, meetings, things like that. I'm talking about a comb.
Oh, where's the
She
call?
uh,
it could be right behind her. It can be right 10 inches from her. Man, and it's gotten us into some arguments, like some real live ones. But
She got the phone in her hand and say, "Where's my phone?"
yeah, all in her pocket
Is that?
or somewhere close.
Yeah,
But
I can see that. I can see that.
the thing about it is, yeah, it got us into a little bit of mess, but it tickles you because it's not gonna stop. I promise it's not. So you just got to. What I got to do is, if I know that we're getting ready, we go to a lot of Airbnbs, places that you got to pack suitcases. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
I know that if she needs this computer, she want this computer wherever she at in the world. I know I better go ahead and get that dang on power cord then, because she's gonna forget it. And then that day,
Thank you,
that
Bobby.
day, yeah, and I try to catch her that way, and at the same time let her know, hey man, baby, you got everything. You did it all. No, you didn't. Man, I got you the gel, the hairspray, the Aussie, the purple bottle. I got,
The
I
charger.
got, yeah, I got everything, and I'm just let you can have it. You did it, but
There
on the
you go.
low, I did.
So teamwork. I think Bobby's brain worked in a higher functioning level sometimes, so high that she forgets small things. But likewise, your brain works a high functioning level as well, but you include the small things. Sometimes we compensate for our mate naturally. He knows there's a high propensity of you leaving the power cord. So what does his high functioning brain does? It decides that I'm gonna go ahead and preempt that, and I'm gonna go get it now, put it all in one spot, make sure it's in my stuff. So when she thinks we're complete, we are complete, but it's funny that she didn't get it, or vice versa. Um, anyway, go ahead, Bobby. I know you have something to say.
no, the flip side to that is, my grandmother passed away from Alzheimer's when she was 65.
Wow.
And so sometimes it scares me that I do forget those, but it is like my mind is so set on the bigger things that I need. It's almost like whenever I get to where I'm going to my ideal dream job, I'm definitely going to need a secretary. And I had one at uh, Cross Key when I property managed there. And I
Mhm.
promised nobody liked her, but I loved her and she kept me in order. And she had every paper, every file, everything on point to where I might have a mess going on, but I know where everything's at. It doesn't look the prettiest, but that's just how I operate. Like I see, but it does scare me that I may get some kind of it runs in my family.
Degenerative disease is what you're saying. You may.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Here's what I believe. I believe they're finding out something new about Alzheimer's all the time. And I think your functions that you perform as often as possible, and I watch you, your simple calculation of things, your calculation of events, your calculation of what to do next. Whenever you're using your brain to that higher function, especially in mathematical or abstract equations like you do in your head about what would happen if this or that or the other would occur, all of these kinds of exercises for the brain is good for you. If you can do that now and forget some small stuff, because that's probably what you've always done, may not mean Alzheimer's. Then again, it may. I'm not an expert in that, but I'm thinking you're always using your higher brain function, and you use your low functions too. You deal with your dogs. They just want to come in and sit on your feet. And you know that, like 20 minutes prior, you know that, oh, in about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they're going to show up here and get on my feet, and they're going to kiss me up. And that low brain function as well, that you're not really dependent on something catastrophic or spectacular to occur as a result. That's good too. So you're using both brain housing, both sides of your brain. Not that one is for high function and lower function, but portions of your brain of each side is for each one. So I would say that I wouldn't worry about Alzheimer's, because if you get it, you won't know it anyway, because you would forget you got it, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So I wouldn't worry about it at this point. You know, if I start seeing signs of it, which I'm not an expert, but I'm sure I can get work. And I'm sure if Montez see it, he's gonna let you know. He's gonna let you know that it's no longer comical. We need to do something about this. But there's nothing you can do at this point until they find I want to say a cure or a way to deal with it. Yeah, but Montez, what do you have to say?
Well, I know that she fears that. We've talked about it extensively. All I can say is, yeah, and it's really small. And there's been times that I've gotten really mad, but at the end of the day, man, I'm not unreasonable, and I'm not insensitive, and I understand. All I can tell you, Bobby, is that if you do get to forgetting, I ain't gonna forget.
There you go. I like that one. I like that. Good job, Montez. I thought this would be more
yeah,
depth session, but this is good. This is right down to the money. So you
yeah.
won't, you got her back, in other words.
Yeah, I do. I've
He
always
always
had.
has.
Well, that's all that meant. See, you guys have all the ingredients that most people on the planet, not with any of your problems or history, have. We have everything, all the money they want, the houses, the places, you know, they go everywhere they want to, they do what they want to do, they have freedoms to do a lot of things. They don't even have to work in a lot of cases, can't get along as well as you two when you get along. You can't do it. Because if it isn't one thing, it'll be another. And that's why you do these exercises now in appreciation of one another. What you just said, Montes, was real, for the lack of a better term, you romanced your wife in public. You just said, you know what, I got you. That's mentally romantic. And women and men both need that. It's a two-way street on that, of course. And you guys have both been doing that tonight. But, you know, there is a bad side to you two. There's a bad side. Together, you guys are sometimes, I say more times now, you're good for one another. And in the past, I think you were more toxic with one another because you didn't have a shut off button. That, what'd you say, me, you, listen, paddle, Bobby? That was not
Working.
not right. It was, you didn't use it as a tool. You just said it because it made sense. But now you're using it. You know, when he's talking, you're not. And when you're talking, you know, or when you're talking, he's listening. You define that very, very clearly. Something I don't think you could have done 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I really don't. I don't think you could have articulated and meant it. Now, we got a few minutes left, and I could go on and on. I'm glad we're going to do this as often as we can. Hopefully, another Sunday we can do this. I think it's next Sunday. I'll find out more from Kelly as we schedule, but I'd like this to be every Sunday so you can have during the week. If you need time on your own body, just have session, then we can do that as well. I don't want to encumber all of your time, but just based on scheduling, I think that Sunday works out the best. What is it that you want to ask me about, Bobby? Anything. Ask me about it. and I'll do my best to provide as much detail and advice as I can.
Um, I'm still struggling with the suggestions on the the cold-heartedness look.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know how to fix that.
You don't. It's impossible. Don't even try to fix it. Here's what you do though. Everything in life, you can either take something away from it or add something to it. But you can never remove a part of you. You can ignore it. You can try to beat yourself out of it, or you can do this. You can condition yourself just like you were conditioned. Now, it could be neurological as well, but I kind of doubt it because I've watched you laugh. I've watched you engage. You're a wonderful human being. I've watched that. I witnessed it with my own eyes. And when you get started to talk and you got something to say and you're about to cut something up, it is hilarious. It's affable. It's nice. It's all of those things that people want to see in you that you don't see in yourself. So there's something you're missing for yourself, and you're abusing yourself when you think that this is all you get. That's self-abuse. You really believe this is all you get? No, you have to learn to condition yourself. You spend a lifetime conditioning yourself to be this blank stare. You just said it a minute ago. When I'm talking and this, that, and the other, and things are not working, and I could say something, but I'm not going to say it, so I just stop talking. I'm quiet. You shut down is what you're doing. You're not stop talking. Because see, once you stop talking and it's his turn, then once he stopped talking, it's then again your turn. But if you're shut down, he gets no response. So instead of shutting down when you go here, pause, listen intently, and respond. Practice doing that every day and in everything without shutting off. You can't help that. It's not something I've just had someone today say a bunch of stuff to me and forget that they said it and went on to another topic as if there was something wrong with something else and not what they just said. Because they've conditioned themselves. And so you've conditioned yourself to believe that this is all you get. Just like you're a fearless person. Some things may scare you, but you're going to deal with it head on. I know Montez is that way. I'm that way. I love confrontation. Matter of fact, I do my best in arguments and confrontation. I really do. I shine. I love it. But I'll say this to you though, and this is really something you have to do, and it's important that you realize this, is that know what you want to put into it. That means yourself, because this is a sign of self-abuse. Because most relationship, you abuse yourself based on what you think other people are thinking of you, your husband or your children or your immediate family or friends. You torture yourself because you're worried about what they may think about your pot roast you just cooked, or about the dogs, potentiality to biting them, or whatever that thing you're thinking about. So you shut down based on your decision having already been made because you worried yourself so much about it that you're convinced that they don't want to be around your dogs. But yet all they're thinking, probably sitting there, is like, I wish I could rub this dog, but I'm afraid it'll bite my hands off, but I love this dog. You don't know, but your mind is made up that you think that they don't like your dogs or that they can't be near your dog. Not that this is the case, but this is a hypothetical. But in real life, Montes goes out and he details a car. And he does his whole magic, and it looks better than any job they can get for $150. Yet he takes in less money for that. You go out, you see that effort being performed, and you know it's much more value than what he's charging. And it's not even the prevailing rates. It's just under everybody's rates that he's charging. So what do? You have to condition him to understand that he has value. You have to make comparative analysis of his work to a leading company's work. Maybe he's not that $400 an hour guy, but he's definitely that $150 a car guy. You get it? And you have to show him that's where his value belongs, because nobody's ever stopped Montes. He saw somebody doing it going, oh, I can do that and I can do it better. And he started doing it and he did it better. But nobody ever told him that's valuable. That has worth. And this is what that worth is, without shattering his heart or making him feel small because he's charged too few dollars. That's how it works. Go ahead, Montes, please.
I think because she's not lying, except the numbers a little bit was ridiculous. I ain't make no $5. But look,
That's
she's
ego talking, but I'm gonna go ahead and let that go.
yeah.
No, go at the
This
door.
is my thing, man. I grew up hustling, okay? And she did too. I wonder if people understand my thought process for why I do the things that I do. Okay. In my mind, from a business standpoint, if I cut everybody off, if you're charging $150 and I charge 75 and I'm better than you are, who gonna get the business?
True,
And that's
but you
how
have to, you're paying for that business, and that's normal. There's nothing wrong with paying for business forward. But at some point, they need to be at least 130, 150 range.
yeah.
Maybe you need to tell them if that's the prevailing rate, for your environment, you need to tell them that I'm gonna do this for you for now because I want to get your business. Sometimes being straightforward in business, instead of having to think your way through it, make them think like you. I'm doing it at 75 because I want your business, but I need for you to see my work. And the only way I get you to see my work is if you give me $75. But I guarantee you, this is worth much more. Now you need to see that. Maybe you tell them what you're doing, and instead of asking them to do it, just tell them. And I think that you'll receive much better results and pay as a result.
Yeah.
Okay, now we got a couple questions for the audience. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm enjoying this session. And I'm glad it doesn't look contrived or fake. You guys have given some really authentic answers, and I'm very proud of this kind of relationship that you have when it comes to each other. But the audience may ask anything, so let's see what they have for us, okay? Okay. Are you both willing to continue supporting one another through your individual growth stages? Independent of one another, are you both willing to support one another in each other's individual's growth?
100%.
Okay, body language says like, that has a caveat. And you mean it. I know you mean it. And you're sincere, but it has a limit, because you went 100%. Everybody saw it. But that's not because you don't support them. You know what this is because? It's because you know your limit. You know to what point that 100% is only applied towards the good things you do and not the bad, probably. So with the bad included, I should ask, tell me, you did the same thing. You covered your mouth and you do like this and you start putting your finger in your mouth, bro. That's normally, I can't say, I don't want to say, I'm covering up my speech. That's body language. I teach this. So, but it's okay. We'll talk about this another time. Bobby, it's okay to support somebody 80%. And the unrealistic things, or the too many people going to the pool table instead of just you and your man, those are real things. And that's okay to not be okay with, if that could put your livelihood or your marriage or your lives in danger. That's okay. That is okay. But his individual growth has a lot to do with you, though. He puts you on kind of a pedestal, which every man should put his wife on a pedestal. I do believe that, but it's where she's positioned in the pedestal. If a woman, and this is my belief, and then I'm gonna come to you, Montes. A woman should always adore her man more than he adores her. Most people don't understand why I say that. But if you just look at plain old respect, when a man is up here and a woman is adoring him, he's in the lead. He's going to be the powerful one. He's going to be the smart one, along with you as well. But he's going to have vision forward for the relationship. He's going to lead. He's going to be a man. But if a man is looking up at a woman like this, she has power over him. And that doesn't make for a good man. A lot of women think it does. A lot of men think it's okay, or they just tolerate it and go along with it. But I think that's destroyed most relationships on the planet, because men are not looked up as men and respected and honored, revered as head of household, as breadwinner, as provider, as protector. They're looked down upon like, I need to find me somebody else. That's how most women think. I'm not saying you guys think that way. So I think that Montes needs to know that if you have support for him, that it's from like here. And then if he has support for you, it needs to be like this, but for that particular thing. It's okay for a woman to look at her man and go, I'm up here because I'm a lawyer, or I'm a doctor, or I'm a therapist here, and you're not. You're pumping gas at the gas station. Not because you're better than he is, but because what you're doing has a higher function. That's all it does. But the moment a man has to look up at his wife to get her approval, he's lost some of his manhood. Now, if he looks at her and get his approval, he's doing great. But someone has to lead the relationship. And if it's going to be a traditional relationship in any way whatsoever, it should be the man. And he should be respected to do that and supported to do it, even if you're much stronger than he is, which I'm not saying that's the case. But even if you are, somebody has to push that up forward. Does that make any sense to you guys? That's why people lose perspective. They just lose perspective on their relationship. They forget who's in charge. Not like to boss you around, but to lead the way and follow the path and create the path and protect the path. Even though it's everyone's job, it's normally somebody's job to be out front. It should be the man in a relationship. The traditional role of the man, I should say, for all these misgenderings that I may have done with my speech tonight. What about you, Montes, before we close out? Tell me.
I put my finger in my mouth and I kind of shook my head. And I didn't do it because I was questioning myself. I did it because I think first of all, anybody know me know that my loyalty has put me in situations I'm not even supposed to be talking to you right now. I will support that woman all the way out. I will lay in the street and die. Okay. If she want to do something, it ain't even the right thing. Guess what? I can cuss you out later, but I'm gonna stand right here with you.
But see, that cuss you out later is that 20%. That you see, that's what I'm saying. It's okay to be 80 there, even in public, bro. You talking to we from the same places. Let me tell you. That's that 80%. It's okay to do 80, 20, 90, 10. That's fine. When people hold themselves to that 100%, they fail every time. And then they blame their partners for it. You just put me through too much. You make me feel this way. I want to cuss you out and go back and all that. All that happens because you're being unrealistic about the 100. Now, when you reach 100, that means you've gone through the whole gamut. You've gone through everything you could to make it work. Listen, guys, I can do this again next week if that's okay. We'll get it out to the public, let them know. But we need to pick up from here and talk about some other things. I need to close this out. We have about a minute and a half left. Was this a good session to you guys? Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Groovy.
No, I have more questions, but for next week, I promise you, we'll get to them, audience as well as you guys. They're just coming in. Anytime that you can talk with one another with the utmost respect, honesty, and clarity, and then not hold grudges or animosity as a result, that's a good talk. Now, to what depth you meant it, was it authentic? I think it was, but it's really up to you in your heart of hearts, what you believe. So let's not debate our questions today with one another for this week. Let's not do that. Let's just hold it still and keep, I'm gonna cuss you out later. Keep that off the table. Okay. And then next week when we talk, you'll have a week of pause and thought so we can start talking about that again and going back to it without it being exhausting. It's something we've walked from pity pat, room to room about for the whole week, not just tonight, the whole week. So next time we talk, we take it up. I'm going to save my normal closeouts. Guys, I really enjoyed this, but if you out there, if you've enjoyed this and you got something out of today's session, of course, as always, please show your support in sharing this video, subscribing to our YouTube channel, making a comment, of course, and liking it. Our next norm therapy session with Montes will be on Tuesday, February 27th at 6 p.m. And please stop by goaro.org and normtherapy.com and explore opportunities and seek help for yourself or someone needing services for abuse in any kind of way, self or otherwise. And if you're interested in applying to become a norm therapist, please check out our norm therapy site and email us at contact@normtherapy.com if you want sessions for yourself. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again on Tuesday. And by the way, for the audience to know, today's my birthday. So
Happy birthday to you.
welcome. Thank you. I'm old. I'm just gonna leave it there. But I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm old. But let me say this to you, and this is good. At the end of the day, I enjoy it. This is the way I wanted to spend my birthday, doing something productive. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you both next week. Okay.
Yep.
Sure.
Have a good day, man.
You too.
What you gonna do? Dang.
Well, I'm gonna probably get a good meal. How's that? A good meal and a cupcake or something with a candle.
All
Not a
right
cupcake,
then.
a brownie. Get a brownie with a candle. I think
That's
I will.
good. Enjoy yourself.